It's Jo from Invest Leeds. I just thought we'd do a quick live to give you all, I guess it's my predictions for 2020 and specifically the housing market across Leeds. I'm thinking overall it will be a positive year. I think the last few years we've had a little bit of like house price growth as such, so the prices that the houses are coming on the market at has grown year on year. I think that will continue throughout 2020. Alongside that, the rents will also continue. They'll continue to grow and increase a little bit throughout the year. Despite that, I think landlords won't actually be profiting, and that's because there's going to be a continued increase in legislation this year. Specifically, selective licensing has come in parts of Leeds. That's Leeds 11 or Leeds 9. So the landlords are now having to pay, I think it's nearly £800 for a licence to be able to rent that property out. And part of getting that licence means they've got to improve standards. That's not saying that the houses aren't already in a good standard, but they might have to maybe upgrade the fire alarm or things like that can be very expensive. I think roughly it can be £2,500–3,000 per property. So obviously if you've got a large portfolio, that's a lot of money to have to find. In addition, Section 24, where landlords, that's coming slowly over the last few years, and landlords now pay income tax on the turnover, on the whole rental amount, rather than on the profit as they have done previously and as other businesses do. Landlords being penalised. I know quite a few landlords who aren't actually making any money in the first place. They're in negative equity, so the rent only just covers the mortgage and there's no profit there. So historically they've not paid income tax on, obviously they've declared it, but there's been no tax payable. Suddenly they're going to be paying quite a hefty amount of tax, and because of that it might have pushed them into the higher tax bracket. Because all this is going on, that's why I think rents will increase, because they'll have to, just so landlords can even attempt to break even in some cases. I think because of the legislation, some are just deciding to sell up. They may be getting out of the game, they're fed up, they're retiring, putting the money down elsewhere, or they're just selling up to buy in a company and maybe do smaller developments or something instead, so it can avoid all these changes. Excuse me. Myself, I've got one guy who's selling 8 properties. I've got another landlady who's selling up because of the legislation, and she's had some issues with the council. And they're just 2 that I can think of off the top of my head. So I think it'll be a good year for us at Invest Leeds. We've already got quite a few properties on our books. I think that'll grow steadily. I'd rather have less that I actually sell than sort of have a load sitting there. We've got a completion this week. We had 2 offers last week. One's accepted, one's still being worked on. So that's a good sign. I think the other prediction, or I guess a threat, is interest rates. Even if they go up a little bit, I'm not actually convinced that they will. But even if they go up like 1/4 or 0.5%, it is still historically low. It might be more than we're used to paying, but historically they've been very, very low for 10 years. I think that will change at some point, but it'll be slow and gradual. And obviously Brexit is going to be a big threat. Personally, I think it'll sort of turn out okay in the end. But we can't see into the future. We can just make educated guesses. I think because of Brexit, they won't put a sudden or excessive interest rate growth. I think they'll try to keep everybody ticking over and doing nicely. So whether you're looking to buy or sell or even rent a property this year, or perhaps you've got a property sat empty or whatever, or tenants have given notice, you're not sure what to do with it, then just send us a message and we will see if we can help you. And thanks for watching.